Hey, what's up, guys? It's your girl, Butta P, and you are listening to Kicking It with Butta, my podcast. And I've got one of my very special friends, if not one of my favorite people in the entire universe. My partner, my teammate.
What else?
My baby daddy.
What else?
My lover.
Yeah, I mean.
My friend.
Ooh.
My superhero.
Dun, 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 dun.
My spouse, my husband, your boy, Konata Small. How you doing, babe?
I'm good. I'm excited.
Why are you excited?
What we talk about?
What do you want to talk about? Let's talk about how you already started this off wrong with matching my t-shirt.
What's the big deal?
Guys,
What's the big deal? Kami used to have a whole song. Wait, did he said I won't match. We won't wear matching shirts, but I will match your work. But matching shirts and matching sneakers is dope. What you mean? Power moves, man.
Power moves?
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about that. What is your fascination with you matching with me? Like, did you not have a girlfriend in high school that you guys that you didn't get the chance to like do the whole matchy thing? Because you like to match a lot. Like you want to match sneakers. Like we're literally wearing the same Wu-Tang t-shirt.
It's funny, yeah. It's Wu-Tang forever. What do you mean? Wu-Tang's dope. Because, like, no, and to answer your question, no, I'd never, in high school, we're not wearing the same thing. That's corny, because you're in high school.
Well, no, that's where everyone did it, was in high school.
No, wasn't it in college? College is when you wore matching stuff.
I never liked matching anybody. But
I don't think I ever did it before. But now, I think it all came because it came from shopping. That's what it came from. Because before, earlier in our marriage, I would go out and buy stuff and not tell my wife. So I'd have to hide sneakers and hide all kinds of things. And then I figured out that...
I got it. I got it.
You got what?
Go ahead.
I figured out that the easy way to get away with this stuff is to buy you something as well. So now,
so you say, let me buy
Absolutely.
these dope pair of sneakers, but to get away with it, let me buy my wife a pair too.
That's right. Because if I wear them, and since we both like sneakers, you're gonna say, "What? Where'd you get those sneakers from?" And if they're
dope, I'm gonna be like, "Yo, why you didn't buy me a pair?"
Exactly. Why you didn't buy me a pair?
Okay, so that I don't mind.
Okay.
But you like to wear them at the same time.
Yeah, because it's a picture op. You know, we live in a world where pictures is everything. So you got to take a... If we didn't have Instagram and those kinds of things, I probably wouldn't do it. But because, you know, you got Instagram and these pictures, you know, you take the chance, you wear the same whatever, and then you take a picture, and it looks dope.
Oh, babe, I love you. I do it to appease you.
But when you see family photos, you know, like, you never see family photos with people mismatching, right?
Well, I think there's two different things. You can compliment each other in what you're wearing, but you be wanting to wear like
I don't wear skirts that you wear.
Let me wear the Wu-Tang shirt. Matter of fact, let's wear the same Adidas. Wait, are we going to wear the same joggers?
No.
It's okay, babe. I don't mind though. I have learned to appreciate it. It's something that you enjoy doing.
Yeah, it's fun. You know?
So,
and people like it too. They're like, "Oh, you guys match."
Oh, that's so cute. Oh.
Yeah.
In church.
Not that I care about people.
The other day we were at church, and I wore a striped shirt, and I usually try to get dressed and like so you won't see me.
Mm-hmm.
But
that was a coincidence though, because you went to church before me.
I had a striped shirt on, and then lo and behold, here comes Konata with stripes. And hey, look, my son is wearing stripes too.
The whole family, man. We gotta look good as a unit. Kevin Hart said it best. You gotta look good as a unit. You look crazy when you...
It's true. We do usually look good as a unit, though. So, babe, a lot of people know that we have an appreciation for sneakers, right? Yep. My appreciation of sneakers started when I was 16 years old. Well, probably a little bit before that. My appreciation for sneakers probably started when I was in middle school. I played basketball, and my cousin gave me a pair of Jordans. They were used, they were hand-me-down, but they were the Jordan 4s. They were my favorite pair of sneakers. And I remember I was like, yo, these sneakers are amazing. And I thought they made me play basketball better.
Did they?
I don't know. I mean, I remember the first time I wore them, I had an amazing game. I was like, yo, my 3-shot is on point.
That's funny.
But that was when the appreciation for sneakers started. And I remember after those pair of shoes is really when I really started liking sneakers. And I started to really appreciate them. But I always wanted to actually create sneakers. Like, that's how I got into shoes. And then I just started collecting them. When would you say you appreciated sneakers? Because we debate this all the time.
We debate about this. So when I was in New York, I remember one time I went to the sneaker store with a friend of mine's. And he had been saving up for a long time to get these sneakers. They were like these new Air Maxes in the, I think they're called Ultra Red, that red that only Nike has. And when I saw them, I thought they looked like, they kind of look similar to the sneakers I'm wearing now. But they were girly to me because of the actual color. But I remember him saving for them, and he paid, I think, I don't know, at the time, $70 or $80 for the sneakers. And I remember saying to him, like, man, you just paid that much money for one pair of sneakers? Because that just wasn't in my culture to buy that, being Jamaican, and mom's was frugal. But I remember him buying the sneakers, and I thought they were, like, all right. But when he went to school, everybody was like, yo, his name was Brian. He's like, yo, Brian, them sneakers is crazy. So that kind of started the curiosity. And then when I moved here to Florida, is the here I'm talking about, and started going to high school here, it was my sophomore summer. I got a job working, it was like an OJT thing at the school. We would be there, and this guy, we went out after we got our paychecks every 2 weeks. It was $235. We got our $235 after 2 weeks of full-time labor, cleaning gums off of desks and all this stuff. And I remember he said, yo, this is what we're going to do. We're going to make sure that when we go out and buy stuff, we're prepared for the beginning of school, so we're not wearing the same outfit for at least 2 weeks. So I was like, oh, snap, I never did that. I never had a job before this, and I never made that much money. So every paycheck, I bought a pair of shoes. I got 4 paychecks over the summer.
Dang, that paycheck now get you one pair?
Yeah. I mean, that's shoes and,
and a whole outfit.
Boss jeans and all kinds of stuff.
Boss.
Jinko, all that stuff. So I went and I bought, 4 pair of sneakers. The sneakers were some Nikes, some Nike Huarache, sorry. There was some LA Lights. The lights, the ones that you used to be able to take out and replace. Not the regular LA Light gear. I'm talking about the dope ones.
I don't ever remember guys wearing LA Lights. But okay. Yo, those are like mad old.
Yeah, a pair of Reeboks and some other kind of sneaker. I forgot what other sneakers were. Anyways, when school started, every single day for the first week, I had a new pair of sneakers. And everybody was like, yo, man. Stunting. Now, I didn't carry that job into my regular school year. So those sneakers lasted me about, 3 or 4 months. And then I was back to one pair like normal. Because, I played basketball and stuff. So that was like my first time, because really what happens is, it's like the culture of sneakers is when you grow up and you can't get it, when you get to a point where you can afford to buy sneakers, you go crazy. That's literally the sneakerhead story for most people that are sneakerheads. They couldn't get it when they were younger. When they got older is when they could get it, and now they just go crazy. You were with me when I got my first pair of Jordans.
That's right. We were in New York.
Yep. And did you buy those for me, or did my mom buy
them? I think your mother bought them for you.
My mom bought them for me.
Shout out to Mom Dukes, the first lady of your life.
I think for a funeral or something. And, I was already grown. We were already married. And
actually, I don't even think I was with you. I think I was here in Florida, and you had went up for your grandmother's funeral.
Yeah.
And they were they black and blue Jordans or something?
They were black and red, the ones.
Black and red.
And we bought them. And yeah, I've always liked sneakers. I worked at Foot Action in my junior year of high school. Had pennies, but I would say they started the fascination for them started in 10th grade. That's when I saw people react to me wearing new sneakers every day. And I got to admit, it was a people thing. I liked the way that it made people react to me.
Yeah.
But as I grew, I just started, liking the material and the fascination and then the history behind sneakers. So,
isn't that crazy?
It's crazy.
Like when I talk to people now who love sneakers, like they don't really understand. They just like, it's just a fad for them, or it's just like, oh, I'm trying to get the first pair, whatever, and they don't even know. But I think for me, with when we got married, right? I think we just overdid it.
Yep.
I remember there was a point that we were getting paid every Friday, right? And I think every Friday we were going to buy sneakers. But I will say this: we've always been smart, right?
Yep.
We've been very smart financially with how much we pay for sneakers. I know you definitely taught me that. I remember when we first met, right? When I first came to Florida, we went to Marshall's. You, I think, took me to Marshall's with a group of your friends. And I had just gotten here. I think I was here like maybe a week or so from Pennsylvania.
It was your birthday weekend.
It was my birthday weekend. And you guys took me to Marshall's. And I remember I bought a pair of Reeboks. There were some white, black, and blue Reeboks. And I paid like $12 for the things. I was like, whoa, like what kind of stores do you guys have here? And I remember we were in the parking lot and I was blown away. And you just kept giving me this look like, why is this chick so excited?
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, this dude probably thinks I'm such a cornball.
Yeah, I mean, like Ross, Marshalls, those sneakers, they just have hidden gems. I mean, I worked at Ross when I was in 12th grade, my 12th grade year, just for a little bit. And I saw that, they had a lot of sneakers, but Marshall's used to be the best sneaker place in the mall. And then, it switched over to Ross when we got older, when we were, married. And don't sleep on Ross, man.
I know, man. I tell people, but not ironically, but I've come to find out that actually here in South Florida, our selection is way better than anywhere.
I think so,
because I've gone to other places. Well, we've gone to other places, and we find some hidden gems, but not like here. Like you can literally walk out of Ross with like 10 pairs of sneakers here. So I remember when I first met you, right? I remember when I first met you, our friend Robert introduced us. Our friend, he passed away now. Robert Castellanos, he introduced us. And I remember when I first moved to Florida, he knew I was into sneakers. He knew I played basketball, like all this stuff. And he used to always tell me, I got to introduce you to this guy, Konata. You got to meet this guy, Konata. And I'm like, why? And I remember meeting you finally, and then I saw you playing basketball, and I was like, remember I was checking you out?
Checking out my rear end.
I was checking out the booty.
Specifically.
Ew, booty. I remember you were playing ball, and I wasn't even paying attention to anybody. I was just there, and I remember watching you run up the court. I was like, yo, who's that? He got a big old butt. And my friend Nicole was like, and you turned around, and I was like, oh my God, that's the guy from church. Like,
that's such a weird story.
What's wrong with me?
We drove in separate cars, but we got there at the same time. We left from the same place together.
But we weren't talking or anything like that.
I mean, you saw what I was wearing.
I had like just met you.
I know, but you would figure if you come someplace and this is your first time being there for a little over a week or so, and you're going out with a bunch of strangers, you would know what all of them look like just because you're in.
Well, you guys all started blending in. Like you guys were all playing basketball and stuff, so I wasn't really paying attention. Yeah. And there was some dude like on the side trying to holler at me, so I wasn't paying attention. And then you.
But I was the only black guy though.
Well, I wasn't paying attention. This other dude next to me was trying to, So I did like a double take, and I was like, "Yo, who's that with the big old butt?" And I was like, "Oh snap, that's the guy."
That's so funny. Like I remember playing good that day, and you'll never talk about how I was killing them, because I think Juan was playing good.
I don't ever remember. Yeah, no, I don't remember you playing ball. You don't do well when I'm there though.
You're
I can't really recall you ever having a good game.
Every time she shows up to anything, a league game, pickup game, whatever. It's like I don't know how to play basketball.
Everybody else tells me how good you are.
Tells her how good I am. And then she comes out and she's like, this what y'all call good? Man. It's all good though.
Aw, babe, but you're pretty good. I mean, you give it your all when I'm there. You're good. But when I first met you, I remember you used to rock these Eastlands.
Oh, boy.
I remember you used to rock these Eastlands, and you were just not the guy. You were just so. It was weird. You were different from any guy I would have been interested in, but yet you were still somewhat similar to guys that I was interested in. If that makes any type of sense. Like, maybe it was your physique, maybe it was your, the way you carried yourself and stuff.
Big lips.
No, you definitely have the biggest lips of anybody I've ever been with. They're nice and juicy and plump. I love them. But yeah, you were just different. What was your first impression of me when you first met me?
Well, there's two first impressions. The first time I saw you, you had a hat on, jeans and a t-shirt, and your t-shirt was tucked into your jeans.
Whoa.
And you had, like, I don't know, some Timberlands on or something. So that whole
Probably.
outfit, so that whole outfit was different from Florida girls. So I was, it got my attention.
You're like, who's this shorty?
But that was before I knew who you were, because Robert had been talking about you, our friend. So when I met you, you were across. He had pulled up to me, and we were pulled up, about to pull out of the parking lot, both in separate cars, and you were on the passenger side, and he had to look past you to talk to me, and I had to look past you to talk to him. So when I saw you, I was like, oh, snap. And I remember Juan was in the car with me, and I said to Juan, because Robert had a history of dating girls, and good-looking girls, like, So I was like, you know what? I said, I'm going to take her from him, And that was my friend, so, you shouldn't do that to your friends, But, he had gotten a bunch of girls. He was good. Like, I was a relationship guy.
That's what I need.
So I said, I'm gonna take that one from him. Yeah, and then I remember when we went out to that Marshall's that day, and you came out, you was so loud. Because before you were quiet, I guess you didn't want anyone to know what you were like or whatever. But you had gotten real comfortable with Robert and his friends, the two guys he used to hang out with. So when you came out that store, he was like, "Yo, I just got these, $12. It's crazy." And I was like, "Yo, what is wrong with her?" Like, we're standing right next to her. What's she screaming for?
I was loud. I'm still loud.
And I was like, "Yo." So at first, it was hard to get used to.
You were like,
being like that. Yeah, it was like,
never mind.
But the time I got to know you was when we went to a housewarming party, and I was your ride to Eli's housewarming party, and that's when I got to know you. And I was like, "Oh, okay, she's cool." She was just acting a little ghetto, but he was a little hood girl.
I wasn't ghetto.
Yo, I remember one time. When I went to Pennsylvania, I tell people this story all the time. I went to Pennsylvania.
And boy.
We was driving. It was wintertime. And we was pulled up at a light.
Oh, my gosh.
And these girls pulled up, and they wind down the window. I don't know why my window was down. And I wind down the window because they was trying to get my attention. And they was like, "Yo, what's your number?" or something. Or, "What's your name?" or something like that. And you were in the passenger seat next to me. And I remember you tried to jump across from the passenger seat through my window to go and attack these girls. I don't know if you cursed. You were saved,
I
but you
think
wasn't
I
that
probably
saved.
did.
Yeah, it was like, yo, this
I was
girl
fresh off the boat getting
she
saved.
Was fresh. She was ready. She was still ready with the fist clenched. But that's when I was like, okay, all these experiences was like, okay, this girl is like, this is different than anything you're different than any girl I ever dated. The girls that I dated in the past were dainty and, they want you to hold the door for them and throw your jacket on the floor to walk over puddles and go watch Titanic together. Yeah. You was trying to watch like action movies, so everything about you was different than I had ever experienced. So it was very intriguing, and it it got my attention. And you didn't think I was good looking, and all the girls that I had dated thought I was real good looking. So you never harped on my looks, which was different for me. It took me a while to get used to it. That sounds weird, right? But it's the truth. If I'm being honest, I'm telling you the truth. Like, I was like, yo, this girl, man, she know what's going on. Look at this smile.
Look at this smile.
But you wasn't impressed with all that.
I wasn't.
You was impressed with other things.
Can't trust a big button smile.
So yeah, getting to know you was fun. It was an adventure. At times it was tough because you was a little tough, but it was always a challenge, and I'm thankful for it because easy relationships were always boring after a while, but you kept it very interesting.
Yeah. What I talk about you all the time in the sense of the pursuit of things, right? Mm-hmm. We mentor young people, so a lot of the young girls are always asking about relationships and should I pursue a guy? How should I, let a guy pursue me but not look like I'm thirsty? And I always share the story, just about our relationship. And I think, one, I was coming out of a horrible situation, so when we met, I was just damaged goods. So for me, it was like, oh man, this poor guy, but for me, I think what I appreciated was I was very honest and blunt with you from the gate. I think it caught you off guard, but I think you appreciated it.
Yeah.
But for me, it was you still pursued me regardless of, you were able to see past the walls and you were able to see past the hurt and stuff. And I share with the young girls, like that for me was impressive, even though at the time I didn't really acknowledge it, if that makes sense. Like I can look back at it now, I'm like, wow, he was really, because I think I did everything and anything to kind of keep you at a distance. One, because I was still healing from my previous situations, but two, I was sharing this with a friend of mine the other day. I think for me the biggest reason was I knew where I was coming from. I didn't know you well enough yet, but from the outside looking in, you just looked like you were coming from such a great, healthy place that I was like, man, I would hate to come into his life and just completely wreck his life. And I've shared that with you before. But I never wanted to be your downfall. Yeah. And I remember that was a big thing for me. But you always pursued, you were persistent. You pushed past it. And I was like, man, this guy's really, who is this guy? Who is this guy that, can deal with all my foolishness and still be willing? And you were always so cool. You were just such a cool guy. You didn't get upset. You didn't look bothered. You were just always like, all right, you're always just very cool, but you weren't a walkover. It wasn't like you were a pushover and you were just letting me disrespect you. And for me, that was impressive. That was, I think, what started to be attractive to me was that you were willing to. You weren't trying to be my savior, but you were okay with being my friend through it, and I thought that was dope.
Yeah, because at the same time, I was fresh out of a relationship as well. But it was good because of the fact that you were so resolute in what you wanted to do. Because you came here with a plan, which I thought was dope. You came here to get your life together, to go to school, finish college, and when all that stuff started, or when you were pursuing it, you said, I really want to focus on this.
Yeah.
And you let me know. I appreciated the honesty because you didn't play with me. You let me know that you were attracted to me as well. So we knew from very quickly that we had an attraction towards each other. There was an
interest there.
Yeah, there was interest there. So I knew I wasn't just friend zoning it, But at the same time, I was trying to be respectful of the fact that, you weren't ready for anything yet, So you said you were damaged goods, and I never looked at you as damaged goods. You were just a diamond in the rough. And when I say rough, I mean rough. It was some digging I had to do to get to the diamond that was you. And I was willing to do it because I saw the bigger picture of who you are. Even when I remember you would say things to me like, I never plan on getting married. I was like, yeah, that's because you never met the right person. Or I never plan on having children, which that one I actually thought was the real deal. But at the same time, I was like, I remember I told this person one time, another relationship that we got to see bloom, and that's Kevin and Stacy Hockenberry. I remember I told her one time, sometimes we think we know what we want, but God knows what we want better than we do. And you are a big example of that. You had your life pretty much planned out, So much so, I remember we watched that movie Family Man. And
Oh my God! Remember we got into that
we
argument?
went back and forth, Nicolas Cage, he ends up, he's pursuing his career, and he gets just a quick synopsis, and then he becomes this family man. Yeah, he becomes this family man, and he's back with this girl that he was dating at one point or whatever, and has the best life, and then like that, his life is snapped back into what it really is, and it's him being this businessman. And we argued about, was he happier as a businessman alone, or was he happier with a family? And I thought he was so happy as a family, and you thought he was happier as a businessman, because
what we were debating was, should he have continued? Should they continue pursuing their careers, or should they risk giving up their careers to be together and have a family? That was the debate. And I was about, no, I'm going to pursue the career. And you were like, I want to pursue family.
Right.
And so my response was, because if it's meant to be in my career, we would eventually meet up anyway.
Right.
And you were like, no, like family, and then you can build something together. And I was like, nah.
I mean, I was a bit of a hopeless romantic. Like, I would leave you flowers. Remember Valentine's Day?
Oh my God, I
like,
know, babe. You were so awesome. You still are.
So I believed in all that stuff, and it's probably because I grew up around women. Just my mom and my sister. My dad wasn't there, so I knew what they liked. So it was always a part of me to be romantic. It was always a part of me to watch certain chick flicks. I can't watch all of them, but watch the ones that are dope. Love story. Was loving basketball, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, being romantic and all that stuff was a part of my DNA. And I remember the first time I think I left a rose or something in front of your house. You had told me it was your birthday and it was already past, or I didn't have a chance to get you anything. I had already knew that I liked you, so I said, you know what, let me get her. I think it was a single rose, and I left it in front of your house.
Yeah.
You came home, told me you got it. And then you told me no one got you a rose before, or made the gesture or something to that effect. And I was like, man, who is this girl been around? Because what I'm saying, you kind of good looking. You know what I'm talking about. So I just was blown away that God had allowed you to make it all the way to me without allowing you to really see what it felt to be appreciated, because that's appreciation. I mean, I would later on show you what love was, but to be appreciated.
I don't think it was that the guys I dated didn't want to give me these things. I just, because of who I was then, I was so strong and stubborn and independent that I didn't like men giving me anything, because I felt that I would owe them something. Yeah, so and that all came from the sexual abuse and all that stuff. But I think that was tough for me, because one of my first boyfriends, I remember he bought me something for Valentine's Day, and I specifically told him, do not buy me flowers, because I wasn't a flower person. And he bought me a sweatshirt. Funny thing, I think I still have it. I saw it the other day.
Is that the Philly sweatshirt you were wearing? It's in the garage, so whoever you are, she ain't wearing it no more, Poppy.
So he bought me that, and he bought me just stuff that for me was like, wow, this is dope. I remember with you gave me that flower. You listened a lot, because I remember you knew it was my birthday, and at that time we had just met. Like, I was here maybe 2 weeks, but I remember there was a group of us, and we were talking, and I was like, I just want someone to buy me flowers or something like, just because it's a Wednesday or something. And I remember a few weeks later, I come home, and there's a bouquet of flowers at my front door, and the card says, just because it's Wednesday. And I was like, this guy! And it's weird. It was intriguing, but it wasn't, it was kind of like, all right, I'm going to put that in my back pocket, but I'm still not trying to get with this guy.
I remember I went to New York when you first moved here. We were friends, and I remember I bought a pair of sneakers. It was the first credit card I had. I bought myself a pair of New Balances, and I was like, you know what? Let me get her something from New York. I got you some New Balances, and I brought them home. I gave them to you, and you looked at them, and you was like, what is this? And I was like, oh, it's a pair of sneakers. He was like, you didn't have to buy this for me. And I said, I know. I didn't have to. I wanted to buy it for you. And you was like, you told me, now I get it. At the time, I didn't get it. I was like, what is wrong with this girl? You said, don't buy me anything. I don't want you buying me stuff. And then you went on to say, in the past, I've gotten people to get me things. You said play in them or something? I forgot what the...
Juice them.
You juiced them up. And me being the way that I was, you met me, I was Christian and stuff. You said that to me, and it was almost as if you said it to me like... I didn't know what that meant, or it was like a new thing to me or whatever. And I told you, I said, you're not going to juice me or whatever it is you're talking about. I just wanted to get you something. And then you were like, don't get me anything because I don't want to be tempted to do this to you. I was like, man, this girl is really from some other stuff, And, I quickly put that in the back of my brain. I was like, all right, no more of this stuff.
And then you didn't buy me anything for 10 years. No, I'm joking.
And then I didn't. Yeah, I refrained from buying certain things like that, and kept it to real small things. But that was part of your past, and that was your comfort level. And that was a fight. At the time I was too immature, but at the same time I was mature enough to know what fights to pursue with you and what to just let slide until it worked itself out. So. It's fun, baby. We had like some adventurous.
I know we've had
stuff.
an adventure since day one.
Yeah, this life has been awesome.
We were dating. In the middle of us dating, you get asked to go to Honduras, on a missions trip. I almost killed everybody.
For that, for the Honduras.
Remember you went on the trip, I think, and then you came back and were like, "Hey, I really want to do this missionary thing," and I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
I love we've had a interesting journey. I think God has definitely used every piece of our relationship. And like I'm able to see it now that we're older, like so many of the pieces, especially with traveling. Like, what was that like for you? Because I think we were dating, I think it was like maybe 2 years or something.
Yeah.
I was traveling a lot with my job at the time. And then you, right? I think so, yeah. And then you started traveling. So part of me was like, oh, this kind of works because I'm never here anyway. But then it was kind of like, are we going to break up? Like, what does that look like? And then it was different because I was traveling for work. You were traveling for Jesus. So that seemed way more important than what I was doing. What was that journey like for you, with you and Juan and the guys?
It was good. It was crazy because, when we went to Honduras, we just went to do one trip, and growing up, missionary work was never anything that I wanted to do. But when I went to Honduras, it became clear really quickly that, this was like a cool thing that God allows people to do. So we had only been out there for, 2 weeks or so. And when we came back, I was like, that was a dope trip. That was, I had done mission trips before, like to New York and stuff, but they weren't real mission trips. So when I did this one and came back, it took me a little while to really figure out what had happened. And then the organization invited us to like this celebration night. And I saw this video of all these other places that these other teams had went to, and they prayed, and they, I think they knew what they were doing by inviting us to that. But they prayed over us. When I say us, there's a rap group I was in called Us MCs. Consisted of Juan Vidal, Rap Dad, shout out, and Danny Pedraza.
Shout out to Juan. He's releasing a new book. We'll talk about that later.
New book. They prayed over us, and we all left there with the same thing on our heart. Like, yo, are we supposed to do this? God, are you really calling us to be missionaries? We never, ever, ever, ever wanted to do anything like that. I never had a desire to go to indigenous countries and be walking around in the jungle and all that stuff. But like God does, he wrecked my whole life. I had just gotten a brand new 4Runner, had payments, had a great job at the time. And God said, leave all that stuff alone, and I need you to pursue this. And then they telling me that, if you do pursue this year and a half of missions work, well, it's supposed to be 6 months to turn to a year and a half, you have to break up with your girlfriend. No ties. You need to allow God to whatever.
I was like,
I come and I tell you this story. You're like, what in the world kind of organization is this?
that's a cult.
But I mean, I don't think we ever really broke up. We obviously, remained friends and disobedient. When I came home from the missions, just boy, I'm talking about, girl. We was hanging out lovely, holding hands, kissing, and all that other stuff that dating people do. But when I was on the missions field, we went to Russia. Was my first trip when I had committed, and God allowed me to go. It was a struggle with my mom. She didn't want me to go at first, and then I just prayed that God would give her a heart to know, and just like that, she was like, "I know you're supposed to do this. You have a burden for it. I've never seen you this, troubled about anything other than going to the NBA," which that didn't happen. So she knew that it was real. And once I got that release from her, the car payment situation worked out with my friend Jacob. It was all good. So when I was in Russia, the first week or two, I just was like, wow, God, you have me exactly where you want me to be for exactly what you want me to be here for. And I went from Russia. We was in Russia for 6 weeks. We came home for a couple weeks, and we were back out. And I remember Scotland was when I really encountered the Lord. It was the first time that I was in front of people talking about Jesus, preaching a message. I had never done anything close to that, not even close to that before. And I was able to do it. I was only 21, 22 at the time, and here I was preaching a message to a bunch of Scotland people, and they were listening to me. And I was like, God, this is crazy. And because of that experience alone, and my experience doing missions, it changed my life. It made me more confident in the Lord. It helped me to realize what favor is all about. And the biggest thing is it helped me to see God on a much bigger platform. It wasn't just about going to church, going to choir. God is in everything. He wants to be in everything, whether you open a cafe or you have a book or you're writing a rap song or you are in construction. God has a way of using it all if we allow him to do it. And I met some great men and women of God. I had some crazy experiences. I've never been so scared in my life, never been so happy in my life. Other than those, up until that point. Obviously, I got to be a little bit happier when I married you, baby girl. But all of my experiences were on an extreme there. I had a skinhead situation that challenged my faith in God there, that I always talk about. But that experience helped me with everything. It helped me listen to God. When I got back from the missions trip, it was hard for us dating. We were so far from each other, and internet wasn't like it is now. You had to go to an internet cafe. Maybe people don't know what that is.
2 or 3 weeks would go by, mm-hmm. and I'd get an email, and it's like 2 sentences.
Yeah, I had like 5 minutes in an internet cafe to write whatever I could. So, hey, babe, how you doing? Hope all is good. Yo, it's crazy out here. A skinhead just tried to kill me. Blah, 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 blah. These people got saved. This little boy, blah, blah, blah. This little girl, whatever I'm saying. And it took a toll on us. So when we got back to the States, I didn't know if we would last. I didn't know what was next. I didn't know if I was going to be going back to England to be a missionary. But I prayed, God, as soon as I see this girl, I need to know if this is something that needs to continue or if, we need to move on with life and allow you to do whatever it is that you have for us. And it was like, as soon as I saw you, because I spoke to you on the phone and I wasn't impressed. We weren't impressed with each other, I would say. We just wasn't feeling it. Where's the love? But as soon as I saw you, I was like, oh, snap. God just opened up my heart like the freaking Red Sea.
So I think that part of the story is crazy because you were in what was the last trip? I think you were in England,
England was
right?
the last trip.
I was in England at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, hey, why don't you guys try to come see me? I think I was, I don't know, maybe an hour away from you guys or something. But for whatever reason, we weren't able to meet up. I came back to the States. And I remember, well, prior to that, we were in Pennsylvania together. And I remember you were leaving to the airport. And I remember we had a talk and we were like, listen, we can't guarantee if we're going to be together, but let's just see what happens, right? We both go to Europe. You're wherever you're at. I'm where I'm at. We end up in England at the same time. I come back to the States. I'm here dealing with whatever it is I'm dealing with. You're dealing with whoever you're dealing with over there.
That's another story.
And then I remember I get called to go to Alaska, and I call you and I land at the airport. And I remember we talked on the phone. I called you. I think you had like just gotten back into the States like a week or so prior. And I remember you were like, hey, stop by my house. And I was like, it's like really late. I think it was like 11 o'clock at night or something. You're like, yeah, but I really want to see you. So I was like, okay. No, you said I need to see you. So I was like, all right. And I remember driving, and we weren't feeling each other on the phone. And I was like, wow, I think this thing is really done. And I was okay with it. But I remember being in the car, and I was praying. And I said, God, I don't really know where we're at. I'm kind of over it. But if this is really the guy that I'm supposed to be with, like, I need to know as soon as I see him if this is who I'm supposed to spend the rest of my life with. And it's crazy because you were praying the same prayer. And I get to your house, I open the door, and I started crying. Do you remember that? Because I'm not a crier, so you should remember that.
Yeah.
Crying, I was so overwhelmed with love for you. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to marry this guy.
We hugged, right? We hugged. And
yeah, we hugged, and then you told me, you know, we talked and about what God was doing in our life. But I thought that was such a powerful piece because, you know, we had gone through, I think it was like 2 years of traveling, right? A year and a half or so that you were doing that. And so that we were able to have that experience and then still see what I'm saying? You pursue the call, you pursue the career, and if it's meant to be, God will bring you back. I was right.
About the call of God, yes, and about a career.
And then he brought us back together, babe.
Yeah.
And now look, 14 years later, 2 babies. We've traveled the world together.
Raymond sold 5 albums together.
We've recorded 5 albums together. We've traveled. We've performed in front of thousands of people.
Yep.
We've been able to impact thousands of lives together. Did you ever think that this is what your life would be?
No, not at all. You know, I talk about it in a song I have called Numbers, where just growing up where I grew up, it was just, all this stuff is a far cry from what I thought in my small thinking I would be able to accomplish at this point. I have a group of kids that I meet with on Tuesdays. They're inner city, or not inner city, but I guess at-risk youth from the Pompano area. And one of the things that I always tell them is, you know, like, I look at my life, my wife, my kids, the house that we live in, the church we go to, the opportunities that have been given, and I'm just blown away. I get blown away at my own life. I don't know if that happens to people other than Kanye West. I get blown away at my own life because I know where I come from. I know the things that I started out with, and you know, to see all this happen now and to see, you know, the influence that we've had as a couple. God knew what he was doing. I mean, because I'm sure, you know, we could have went against him and just chose other lives. And with God, he would have probably sewed it up together and made it work, but it wouldn't have been this great. So to answer your question, no. Never thought in a million years that this would be my life. And I'm so thankful for God. Before we started the interview, I sat back on this couch, looked out this window, and just said, man, it's days like this. I just sit here and just go, man, thank you, Lord. This life has been a journey.
Because we're actually sitting doing this podcast.
Yes.
We are sitting in our sitting room. Our house has this huge window that overlooks the pool. And my son and my goddaughter and her father are in the pool enjoying their Saturday. It's awesome.
Raphael. Husband of Nadine Raphael, But God is the book.
Yeah, shout out to Nadine with her new book. Ooh.
And the other thing is, like, I was talking to someone about this yesterday. Like, yesterday I'm on a message chat. Juan has a book coming out. They're printing 50,000 copies of his book. It's $1 million worth of books they're printing for him to sell. Another friend, Gavi, has just released a record. I have another friend, Ray King. He just released a super duper dope music video, social club. It seems like everyone around me, even the guy in the pool, Ben's, his wife, we are surrounded by people who are doing great things. And I'm not talking about regular great things. I'm talking about dreaming things, and it's just good to surround ourselves. I don't even know if we've done it on purpose, but even the youth pastors I've worked with, I mean, everybody we know is doing something crazy because of the Lord in their life. Nothing even regular. And that's a testament to, you got to surround yourself with people that are doing great things, because it's going to make you do great things. Look at you. Look at you, girl.
God brought me into your life, so
exactly. I wouldn't be on none of this stuff. But yeah, man, God is good. He's the best choice.
Well, that was a huge reason why I wanted to start the podcast, because I enjoy my conversations with everybody. Like you and I have amazing. We dream together, and sometimes you kill my dreams, but. Because you don't think like that, but
buy a Bentley, yes. I kill that dream quick. That'll be
so
a nightmare for me.
I want to buy a car, babe. What kind of car do you want to buy? A Bentley. How about a Toyota?
You get a new Tesla. No.
But yeah, that's why I wanted to start, because I always have amazing conversations with all of our friends, and we talk about this all the time. That how we're surrounded around some amazing people, and for me, well, you know me, I enjoy seeing people succeed. I enjoy, especially when God allows me to be a part of their success. Like that for me is just awesome. And for me, it's just like, just keeping these great people around us, and even great people who have successful marriages, around us. I think, it's going to be 14 years that we've been together. Not without any flaws. We've had some tough seasons in our marriage, right? And I think for me, what I appreciate about you and I is that we're honest about our failures and we're honest about our successes. I love that we are able to talk to young people, especially young couples, and just be honest, with our struggles, stuff that we've dealt with. I think sometimes they're a little shocked, at some of the stuff we share with them. And they're like, there's no way that you guys have dealt with that. But I think for me, I was sharing something with my friend Elena, right? I was talking to her this past weekend, and I was telling her, I said, it's so funny when I look back when I was younger, and I was sharing some of my crazy stories of just being in these relationships. And I said to her, I said, I never really dated anyone that was horrible. Like everyone was cool. And I was telling her, and all Konata's ex-girlfriends, they were actually all nice girls. Like I think we both have had, like our exes aren't horrible people. Right. They just weren't, and I was sharing with her, I said, I've had some really decent people in my life, but when I see the life I'm living now and knowing what my passions are, none of the people that we were with would have ever been able to challenge us to thrive to be who we are today. Wow. I probably would have been married, maybe had kids, probably would have been living okay in Pennsylvania, and I probably would have been okay with that. But when I think of the life that you and I have together, I would have hated to stand before the Lord and him say, your life is cool, but let me just show you what if. That would suck. Yeah. But I think about that, and I'm able to appreciate, even the tough stuff that you and I have gone through. And I think we even with that stuff, we've had to go through that in order to be able to be successful in where we're at today.
It built character in our relationship. and it makes us stronger. And I've said it before. It's a scary statement to make, but I've made it before in front of young adults, and I told them I really don't know what it would take. I don't know what the devil has up his sleeve, because it would take a lot to even be considering ending anything like this, or concluding it, or any of that stuff. I mean,
now don't get me wrong, we still be fighting. I still be ready to knock you out.
Fighting,
but
still be acting crazy, girl. You know what I'm talking about?
What's one of your biggest pet peeves with me?
Biggest pet.
What drives you crazy?
Drives me crazy.
Nothing.
Sometimes you talk, you say things you don't need to say, or that are very obvious. Like yesterday.
So I'm like Captain Obvious?
Like yesterday, we got the car fixed, right?
Uh-huh.
We had a car situation, transmission fell out, and the whole thing was acting retarded. So we were going to go buy a brand new car, but it didn't make any sense because we would have been in a hole and paid interest on what we owed on our car. So we decided to go ahead and fit the bill, pay for the transmission to get put in. We have a strategy and a plan that makes sense, and it's going to make our payments lower, and it's going to make it better for us. So we don't have to put as much of our savings into buying a brand new car.
Mr. Frugal.
So yesterday, you said all these things in regret, like you regret doing the decision that we made, because the car isn't driving as perfectly as it was before. Well, it has a new transmission in it. It has a new body part in it. It's like if you had a new heart. That heart has a certain amount of years to it. So you got to drive it knowing the plan. But sometimes if you're frustrated or whatever, you say whatever comes. Not all the time. I mean, you're pretty good with
I've gotten better.
You got a lot better. But sometimes you chat too much.
You chat too much.
But that's it, I mean, I'm sure there's more, because we're growing every day. We're changing every day there. And so am I. What is my pet peeve of yours?
Ooh, I think what I get frustrated this is just my impatience. And we've talked about this in that counseling thing that we were doing. Mm-hmm. I'm learning that men and women think differently. We move differently. Mm-hmm. But like when I ask you to do something and you don't do it right away, I should say. Mm-hmm. But one thing that drives me crazy is that every day almost I tell you, can you make sure you turn that fan and the iron off? And every day it stays on. And I'm so.
The funny thing is, it's not like I forget.
I know, it's just.
I don't do it because I like the fan blowing in the room.
But the fan is blowing in the room for 8 to 9 to 10 hours. No one is in the room, and you're wasting electricity. And then I come in. But you want to hear the funniest part? I'll walk into the room, and that thing will be on, and just because I'm pissed off, I won't turn it off. Like if I'm hurting somebody.
I thought you liked it on. I was like, she must like it on. She just don't know.
I'm like, this freaking guy never turns this freaking fan off.
And it's a nice hum. Provides a nice hum.
What is it humming? Who is it humming to? Nobody's here.
Okay, you want to get real? Because we're going to get real with you. See, the hum creates a nice sound. Okay?
Yeah, while you're sleeping.
But
nobody's here. If nobody's
okay,
at the house.
If no one's here, then I guess that makes sense. But when you walk in the room and the fan's on, there's a big difference than when it's not. The air.
It does absolutely nothing for me.
See, for me it does. The
but
air,
you're not in the room.
Air. But when I walk in the room and the fan is on,
you got problems.
The air is blowing. It feels like life is happening.
No, it feels like allergies.
The stagnation feels like death.
No,
like
it doesn't. That's why we have windows. You open up the windows and let the fresh air blow.
Usually the blinds are pulled. Even
no,
though the big windows,
I open the windows. So you need to turn the fan off.
Turn the fan off. What about the iron though? I leave the iron on for you.
No, you don't. I don't even iron my clothes. You iron for me.
I don't even iron my clothes.
You iron that junk.
You better do iron most of your clothes.
You do. That's what makes you awesome. So, babe, we have 2 beautiful children.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. I love seeing you with my kids.
You love seeing with your kids?
I love seeing you with my kids. I remember when we were dating. This is probably going to sound so shallow and stupid, but whatever. I remember picturing you. I think we were at like a cookout or something. And I remember you were carrying someone's kid. I don't really remember who it was. Actually, I think it was Goldie. I think it was Alitia. One of those times that we were at the beach, and remember when Essie and them used to have like their get-togethers at the beach or whatever, and I think you were carrying her, and I remember picturing you like, I wonder what that he would look like carrying one of my kids. Would he be like one of those dope looking fathers that got like these really fresh sneakers on with some shorts and a Phillies hat, like that? That's what I was picturing you. I was envisioning you like that. Like if you would look like that as my husband and being the father, like that was interesting to me. As long as you were gonna look cute being a father, and that's what you look like.
Oh,
And
I
I
was
love it.
waiting for you to say I didn't look like that because we was gonna have a straight up fight on this podcast.
No, but I love it. I love when you're with the kids. I love how much care that you put into making sure they look fresh. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it.
It's Kevin Hart. He scarred me. He talked about his family looking crazy as a unit, and I was like, you know what? My family needs to look presentable. And not just that, I just want them to, you know, take pride. I want them to learn at a very young age. Something that I learned at a young age. Because I don't know, growing up in New York, like, this is going to sound bad for people that are, I guess, from the South as much, but in New York or up north, for the most part, if you leave your house to go out, you kind of like...
You look like something.
Yeah, you got to put yourself together.
I learned that moving down to Florida. I was like, wow,
and
culture here is very
because
different.
there's so many people on the street. Like, you don't walk out of the house and not see people on the street. Here, you walk out of the house and there's no one around.
Yeah.
There's just cars driving. So I get why it happens, but in this culture that we live in now, you know, we go to the mall and we was at the mall the other day. Remember the guy had his pants like pulled down to the point his boxers,
Oh my
everything
God.
was hanging out.
Yeah.
It was like, yo, like, and he was young. He didn't know any different, I guess, because maybe that's where he comes from. But I want my kids to know that, like your heart, like, you know, who you are on the inside, your appearance does matter, you know? And I'm not being material or shallow. I'm not talking about being pretty. I'm talking about being neat.
Carrying
you know?
yourself
Carrying
well.
yourself
Yeah.
well, you know, making sure that you need a haircut, go get a haircut, you know?
Yes.
If your hair is looking crazy, you know, snatch it up. You know, just little things, because that stuff counts for a lot of different reasons. It can make your life
So
harder.
I think, you know, how do you feel about that? You know, especially with stuff that's going on in society now with just all this racial stuff. We're an interracial couple that sometimes we forget, right? I'm Puerto Rican, Latina. You are Jamaican, black. But, you know, we don't really feel that here in South Florida. We don't feel the change in the difference in culture. We usually feel it when we leave. Where were we that time? I think we were in Oklahoma or something, and someone said to us, he says, so you guys, what did he say? Something about, do we focus on interracial couples at our church? And we were
someone came to our church,
and we were like,
Oklahoma,
what?
and said that.
We were like, what?
You guys tend to focus, or you promote.
You promote interracial, and we were like, what?
Dating and couples and whatever.
But how do you deal with that, especially with stuff that's going on now? Like, have you been intentional with speaking to the kids about that? I know you and I kind of speak about it, but what has been your take in recent, you know, stuff that's been happening?
Well, to answer the question, I'm pretty intentional, not too much, because, you know, the kids are so young now. You know, Zion is still 4. He doesn't really experience it just yet. You know, he still is colorblind. And Zoe's kind of coming into it a little bit, but even her, she's so innocent in the way that she views, you know, things. So that's why I harp on appearance, so that the appearance covers, you know, you need to be well kept, you need to respect people, you need to be polite, you need to be sure. You know, Zion, I'm always telling him, look at me when you're talking to me, look at people in their face, let them know that you are serious, that whatever you're talking about, you mean it.
We teach them yes ma'am, yes sir.
We teach them yes ma'am, yes sir. He shakes hands. He's not allowed to walk in a room where a grown up is there and not address them. You know, so those are certain things, and those are actually pretty Southern things, actually. I will say that, but they're important because respect will get you a long way, no matter what color you are. But I know that I know and am preparing myself to have a conversation with him because, like I told this guy at work, he wasn't understanding the, why everybody was in an uproar about, these people getting shot by police officers and why are black people making it a thing. And I told him, we're not making it a thing. I said, but you as a Jewish white guy, you're going to have a much different conversation with your son than I am. And he said, well, what do you mean? I said, the simpleness of being pulled over by a police officer. I said, when you get pulled over a police officer, what do you do? I said, I show him my license and registration. I kid and joke with him. I just goof off. He's just a normal guy doing a job. I said, that's awesome. I said, I can't afford to goof off with a police officer. If he's there, I got to be super polite. My hands got to be on the dashboard or on the steering wheel. I got to speak very clearly to him. I got to turn down my music. There's a lot of things that are going through my mind because of what it is,
What happened to you that one time?
And because of what has happened to me specifically, it changes everything. And I'm not Mr. pro black civil rights in this current time regime we're in right now. Of course, I know a lot about civil rights and grew up on all that stuff, and but that's not who I am. In the fact that I have a lot of white friends, I have Spanish friends, I have Chinese friends, and I just like that. I like being in different cultures because I think that's how we're supposed to be. But at the same time, it's not like I can't. I don't have the right to act like this stuff doesn't affect other black people and myself, because it has. So with him, with my son, and my daughter, we're coming to a time where I'm gonna have to have a conversation with them that, not that you're different, not that you're better, but know that whenever you walk into a room, you're not any better than anyone else, but no one else is better than you. And that is very important for me to drive home to them. And I think that's just, we have pretty strong-willed kids. I mean, these kids go to play and especially Zion will play by himself. You don't need nobody. My daughter, if she's playing, she's leading, and that's how I want them to stay, strong, influential kids. And I think they're at an advantage more than most kids that look like them, because of the life that we've led, because of the fact that they have a strong belief in Jesus and the things that we believe, even at their young ages. I mean, Zoe's going to be she's going to change the world. But because of those things, they're at an advantage to be influencers for other kids their age and other kids that look like them.
Zoe and I went for a walk the other day. I was telling her, she says to me, well, isn't our house bigger than the house that you grew up in? And I said to her, yes. And that was always my goal. Because I remember when I was young, my dad was big on legacy, and he was always big on making sure that what I did was going to be better than what him and my mom did. And I've always carried that. My dad always, growing up, he'd always say, three things I always got from my dad was, don't ever be with a guy because you need to be with him. Be with a guy because you want to be with him. The other thing was, you're always going to work harder because you're Latina, you're a woman, and you're a Christian. And he used to always say, so don't ever let anyone make you feel like you're less than. And so those are the things that I've always carried with me. And he'd always, make sure that we knew, that I knew, you have to do better than what we did. So my dad, his accomplishment was that he moved us out of the ghetto, right? I was one of the few out of all my friends that grew up in a middle class neighborhood. Now I didn't know till now that I'm adult, the struggle they had to go to make sure that my brother and I lived this good life, and I appreciate it. But for me now, it's like, me and Konata have to make sure that we give our kids a better life than what we had, so that when they have kids, it's always, you're constantly pushing the limit for them. Yeah. And I want my kids to feel like they're growing up with an advantage, but not to the point that they feel that they're spoiled and that we're not real with them. And I think, having that convo with Zoe as to why we felt like we wanted her to grow up here, why I wanted her to grow up in this type of neighborhood, having a pool, making sure she had friends of different colors. Because I grew up in a predominantly white school, and I felt Puerto Rican every day. Like, I don't want my kids to feel that. And I've learned, too, that that's not the norm, what these kids are growing up here, that's not the norm in America. But that's why I love that we've been intentional with a lot of that stuff, like even the school we send them to, like making sure it's not a predominantly anything school. I love the diversity in the school. I love that all the teachers are different nationalities. And I love that God has blessed us that we're able to send them to a private school and that they're learning about the Lord. And one thing I love about Zoe is that we've given... one thing that my bad, sidebar, Will and Jada Smith, I love watching their family. I've, paid attention to different interviews that they've done, how they raise their kids. I remember thinking before, I was like, man, they're crazy that they give their kids so many, they gave them like so much freedom so early on. And I used to think that was crazy parenting. But now that we're parents, I think we're raising kids in a different generation. Yeah. The type of kids, you got to know your kids, right? And our kids are so strong-willed, not in a bad way. Like, I enjoy giving them options, Remember, Zoe got accepted to another school, I think it was last year, and we sat down with her and we said, hey, it's your choice. Like, do you want to stay at the school you're at, or do you want to go to this new school? And this is what the school offers. Everything she wanted, performing arts and, this and that. There was more kids and whatever. And what did she say? Do they teach about Jesus?
Teach about Jesus, yeah.
And I was like, no. And she's like, well, why don't they teach about Jesus? And I'm like, well, it's not a Christian school. And she's like, well, I don't want to go to a school that they don't teach about Jesus. And I remember I was like, well, you can go and probably, you could be the one that teaches about Jesus. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, wait, I don't even think they can talk about Jesus at the school. And we gave her the choice, and she chose to stay at a Christian school. And I thought that was huge of her. And so for me, like, I've enjoyed that part of parenting, is that, I mean, everyone's different. And I think we can't tell other people how to parent. We can just tell people what works for us. But I think with the experiences that you and I have had growing up, you moved to Florida because, you got stuck in a shootout. So, like, our kids will hopefully never experience anything like that,
Maybe a couple of weeks ago, I went to... I was with Ben's, and we were going to go play pool, and he has a 13-year-old son. And he said to me, I don't know if I could play pool because I don't know if I'm ready to leave Isaiah home alone at 11 o'clock at night. And I told him, remember when we were kids? Me and my sister had our first set of keys to our house. I was 7.
I would think I was 7 or 8.
We would walk home from school, no mom, anything, let ourselves in the house, close the door behind us. There were crackheads on the roof. I mean, we just grew up in a time where you just needed to know the streets. You just needed to be aware. You needed to be street smart, and you needed to grow up a little bit. So I remember telling him that, and I said, listen, even though your son is 13 years old, and you may feel like he cannot be home alone, he needs to be. Like, there are certain things that we have to teach that we learn from our environment, that we have to take authority on and teach so that we raise strong kids that are strong-minded as we are, but at the same time without robbing them of their innocence. So I would never expect to give Zion, a set of keys, for our house at this age. But there are certain things that I have to train him on now. Like, I have to teach him things that I think the world taught me, but he needs to know so that he's not caught off guard. Just street smart things like, you know, who to say, you know, hi to, who are strangers, what do strangers look like, you know, just certain things that I don't want him to become victim to, or his sister to come victim to. So I remember having a conversation with Benz and telling him, hey, like, he's 13 years old, man. Like, he has to stay home. And Benz quickly realized, Benz being from Brooklyn as well, grew up
He's
very
like, yo,
similar
that's
to me.
right.
He's like, yo, that's right, man. Like,
so that's
real.
a good point. Do you think, because we all live in the same area, right? Do you think that we're almost doing a disservice to our kids? Because we definitely grew up more independent. Like, we were walking... Yeah. I was walking alone young. Do you think we're doing the kids a disservice by, because they're not really growing up street smart like we did, right? Like, what do you think about that? Because you just said, well, I wouldn't give Zion a set of keys at 7. Like, why wouldn't we?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe because I'm looking at him and he's 4 years old now. I can't see him at 7.
Well, think of Zoe. But she's 8.
Zoe at this point, you know, I think we have to start introducing this stuff to her. Independence. Being able to, you know, come home, open the door, close the door by yourself, make yourself something to eat. And not just that, just kind of being able to analyze people. Because when you grow up in an area where, or in an environment where everybody's so after themselves, they don't care how old you are, they're just trying to get theirs, and they have a selfish mentality. It forces you to see people. And that's the biggest thing, you know, not necessarily just knowing who criminals are. I want them to know who people are. I want them to know that God is awesome and he's perfect, but people are very unperfect. So I want my kids to know that people are going to let you down, you know. Even me, as your father, will let you down one day, if not already. But God is the only constant that doesn't let us down. So how do we do that? I think we just have to be really, here's the word, intentional. You know, intentional on the way that we teach, the things that we show them, and asking them the why questions. So even if you're watching the movie with your son, this psychologist was telling me this the other day, because our son had some behavioral issues in the first part of the year that have subsided. Thank you, Jesus. He was smacking people up. Now he's good.
My baby.
But she told me that, you know, when you watch these shows, even in cartoons, there's so much moral things happening. I mean, you don't even have to go outside and, you know, give your kid a key and leave them in a park and see what they do. You can show them things, you know. You can do practice drills with them, like what I just said. You can leave them in a park, say, hey, this is what I want you to do. I'm going to leave you over here. Go find a police officer. Tell them that you're missing your dad. Like, you can do things like that to train your kids. Because I would want my son to be trained if someone comes into his high school with a gun. I don't want him to just be listening to these authority figures. I want him to know, have a mind of his own, because I would. You know, if someone would have broken into my school in high school, I would have reacted different than all the other students because of the way that I was raised. You know, I would have been way more paranoid and efficient on getting myself out. Or at least I'd like to think so. So those are the types of things. So when you're watching these shows, when you're watching film, when you're watching cartoons with your kids, you got to ask them why. You know, why do you think that just happened? Why do you think that person's bad? Why do you think that person's good? You know, because there's so many gray areas to bad and good that our society has created. We have to kind of help our kids identify that, and then give them an opportunity to be thinkers on their own. You know, they have to be able to really analyze a situation, not just say, oh, what would mommy do? No, well, why is that happening? How do I feel about that? Where's the danger? Is this dangerous? Should I be scared? Should I not be scared? What should I do? Should I move? Like, all of these questions should become verbatim for them, and the only way we do that is by intentionally raising them.
And I think that's the thing I think I always battle with, because we grew up street smart, but I think it was just because we were forced to deal with situations. It wasn't like, I don't think it was that our parents didn't want to have those convos. They just couldn't. They were busy doing life, working and so I think we grew up in a situation where it's like, you got to fend for yourself until I get home. And I can't be home when you come home from school. Mom and dad is not picking you up in an SUV and waiting in this line of cars. It was like, yo, you got to walk home from school. You got to go catch the bus. You got to hop on the train. You got to do whatever you got to do. I don't care what you do. Get home, use the house key, get in the house, go do your home. Like you were home for 2-3 hours by yourself. Like now, our kids, I pick them up every day. So I think for me, that's always a struggle. It's like, because I think we can have these conversations, but what about the kids that we deal with, right? You deal with the kids at the Rock. They don't have what we're giving Zoe and Zion. So it's like they're growing up differently because they're forced to be put in these situations of, they're being forced to have street smart, not out of, because their parents want them to be. It's just like, yo, I gotta work. You gotta figure it out. So I think for me, that's always the struggle. Because remember, I didn't want my kids to go to private school at all. I
At some point, I said,
I tell Zoe all the time, listen, don't get too comfortable. You go to public school.
Absolutely. In high school, you need that public school experience.
I need her to get into one good fight.
You need to get the shell cracked. You need to really get in an environment like where you're surviving. Like you have to be able to survive an environment, making good decisions in stressful, circumstances. I remember one time I was in middle school, and this is what street smarts do. I was playing basketball, had a champion jersey on. It was dope. Actually, I think it was high school. I was here already. It was high school, and I was playing basketball in a park I had never been before. But because of the way that I am, and because I'm always paranoid, if I'm playing with strangers, I know that they're strangers. We're playing basketball, good shot, all that stuff. None of that means anything because I don't know you.
Yeah.
So the niceties can cloud everyone's vision, especially kids, because they think, oh, this person's nice to me or whatever. So anyways, they were nice, they were cool or whatever, but I remember playing ball, and one of them said, I saw them whispering, and then I heard the guy say, yo, man, just go snatch that off of him, man. And the dude was big that was talking about taking my jersey from me. So, with that being said, I put it in my mind, I kept on playing, but I knew that at the end of the game, these guys were going to plot to jump me to take my jersey.
Crazy.
So, I was outnumbered, so I could have done two things. I could have ran blatantly, or I could have just fought them to get and even though still probably would got my jersey taken, but at least fought for myself. Yep. Or I could have done something that Street Smart told me, which is, I'm gonna play it cool, even after the game, and I'm gonna keep playing basketball. And then what I'm gonna do is go on the other end of the basketball court, right next to them, and then I'm gonna take a shot where I'm shooting from whole court, and I know I'm gonna miss, but my ball is gonna go so far that I have to run and get it. So I'm gonna shoot the ball, I'm gonna run and get the ball, I'm gonna grab the ball, and then I'm gonna be like, all right, y'all, I'm out. I'm gonna jump the fence and go home. Now I'm so far away from them, they can't run after me. They're gonna look stupid, and I don't look like I'm scared of them. I just left the basketball court. But now when I come back, I'm coming back with friends. So that's me avoiding all situations. I'm not, running away. I'm not fighting people just because I need to
strategic and stuff.
Yeah, strategic. And I got out of that situation and brought my friends back to play and never had any sort of issues with anybody. But that's the stuff that you can't really... I
had my cousin April fight all my fights with me. April, come knock this girl out for me. She's
and obviously there's a time to fight as well.
Yeah.
And I want my kids to know that as well. I don't want to raise no suckers.
No chumps in a small house.
No suckers and no hoodlums. I want them to be smart kids that give and get respect and love Jesus.
You just sound like you wrote a song. Bars. Speaking of songs,
what's up?
So you've been getting a lot of amazing placements lately.
Ooh.
So you've been doing some TV and film placements. That was our goal that we set a couple years ago, and it's happening. How are you feeling about that? Because you're still doing music, but you've transitioned, right? You did Us MCs. You became Raymond Soul with your beautiful wife. We traveled the world together. That's crazy experience. It was awesome. Shout out to Juan Love.
Yep.
We separated for a little bit. Everyone's focusing on their own solo endeavors, and then actually everyone's solo endeavors ended up being amazing. So everyone's thriving in that. You are now thriving in this music side of licensing. How do you feel about that?
It feels good, you know. Like I was telling someone the other day, actually a group of artists, all of them, Social Club, Gavi, Ray King, Chino, and Juan, and some pastors. Actually, I was telling them, like, this is so crazy because the placement allows longevity in music. You know, in music is a very in-your-face thing. You know, especially hip-hop music. You know, people yearn to be in front of audiences. When you've done it already, and you've done it quite a bit, the allure of it is kind of, not that it's not there, because I still do like performing, but it's not important. Before it seemed like the most important thing to be able to perform and get in front of your fans and, you know, do all that stuff. But there's a lot that comes with that. Traveling, you know, having to leave on a whim to go do some show somewhere. Sometimes your choice in taking the show can be monetarily. You know, you're taking it because you need money, not necessarily because you want to take it or you want to be in front of that particular type of crowd. And sometimes not even because you feel like the Lord called you to go there. Like you just need money and you figure,
do you feel like when we were doing Raymond Soul, we got to a point that we felt like that?
Yeah, I think so. You know, because I always talk about when I started doing 1997, there was less weight on it. Like I could do what I wanted to. It felt more
fun
freeing.
Again.
Yeah, it was fun again. If it didn't go well, it wasn't gonna kill me. You know, I had a job. You know, so when you're writing for a movie or you're writing for a show, and the person that wants you to write it are giving you an idea of what you were writing about, oh, it's cake, because now you have the idea. It's fresh, and when you get to do it in this capacity, you can do the music, you can put it out. It gets notoriety, which is something that everybody wants. You know, in your insecure artist world, you want notoriety and validation from other people. And when you get the validation from a movie trailer house that your song is good enough to make sense with their movie, you know, that's a big thing. That means you're communicating properly, and whatever it is that you put into it, they're really enjoying enough to pay you. To be able to do this, man, is like, I was telling them, going back to what I was saying, what I was telling them is everyone has a age limit. Even, you know, Drake said something the other day, like, I would have retired by then. He was talking about rapping at 35 years old or 40. He said, I'm going to be retired by then. Will he? Probably not. But it's a thing to say that you're done with rap music specifically at a certain age. Well, when you do placements, there's no there's no age range on that. I can do this for the rest of my life and never be in front of a stage, or never have to be in front of a stage, and still make a very good living for myself. And even if it's not about me making a living, I get to do music. And I get people to appreciate it and like it and listen to it. You know, so this has been a dream every time we get one, whether it's a small MTV placement, which isn't a small one.
I was going to say, it's not that small.
But, you know, people range it based on a lot of things, what's small, what's not. But with all that being said, whether it's a small placement or a big placement, you are having someone play your music to a movie or a show that everyone is watching, or a lot of people are watching, and it's like, what's better than that? And then the things that I'm talking about are still the same. It's not like I'm talking about hopeless things. I'm still talking about hope. I'm still talking about the attributes that I've learned, having a moral compass, and ultimately, you know, the love I have for God and the things that He loves. You know, and I'm communicating that on a song that says money and power in the hook. That's great. You know, so it's really been crazy.
I get people that ask me all the time, people in the industry and artists and stuff, like, you know, how are you guys getting these placements? And
None of your business.
None of your business. No, but, we get asked often, right? I get asked all the time about how we do it. Can I help them get placements and stuff? And I think a lot of people have a misconception of what it is. Everyone thinks that their song should be in a movie. They're like, oh, Butta P, grab this song and go get this placed on. It's like, that's not how this works. But that's how we started off, right? We gave them our catalog and we're like, hey, take whatever. And then we ended up building relationships, and MTV loved us. And little by little, we've built relationships. And now we're at a place where it's like, now they're calling us for custom songs, right?
Yeah.
Which was always our goal. And I think it's dope. I was talking to an artist the other day, and he was asking me about it, and I told him, I said, everyone has to find their lane. We went through a season of performing and traveling and doing all that, and it was fun, and I miss the energy of the crowds. I definitely do miss that. Yeah. I don't think I miss anything else about it. I don't know if I miss the traveling and the early flights and the pressure of having to get paid, and where now what we're doing is completely sustainable, and it's just like we're sitting at home and we're making money. But work smart, not hard. But I think I get asked all the time about it, and I share with people. Everyone has to find their own lane, and some people are going to be artists that are, they have the season of traveling and doing all that, which we did. Mm-hmm. But I think for you, what has impressed me is that you were always, at least for me in the group, you were always the one that challenged me to be better as an MC. Mm-hmm. Not just, I was always confident with my skill. Yeah. I was always confident with my content. I was always confident with that stuff. You always challenged me, though, when it came to finishing something, because I was always the one that worked off of inspiration. If I got inspired for 20 minutes and once that inspiration was gone, I'm done. Like whatever I got done in that 20 minutes is what we gonna hold on to until I'm inspired again. Like you will sit and listen to a beat over and over and over and over and over, and I'd be like, yo, like how are you listening to this song for 17 hours? Like, but that has actually what has made you successful in this licensing thing, because they'll call you, actually, like right now, they called you, 2 days ago? Yep. And they give you like this small window. They'll call you like on a Monday and say, hey, this is what we need. This is what it needs to sound like. This is what it needs to talk about. I need it Thursday. And what has been impressive about you, and I've said this to you all the time, but I feel like you get better every song. You can sit and write a song in a day, and not just some lazy song. Like you're actually talking about something. The wordplay is still there. Like the skill is still, like it's still up to par with everything else. And you literally on a Monday, by Thursday, you will have a song mixed and mastered. Like, so, and then we submit the song and they're like, oh my God, this is amazing or whatever. And we go and we make the changes, and within a week's time, we have a completed song. Not too long ago, the Money and Respect song, I think we had that done in a week or 2 weeks, and then they were like, hey, we need the song to be released so we can coincide with the launch on whatever.
We got that song done in 3 days.
In 3 days, and we got it out. So on my management side, right? So that for me is always impressive about you, and that's why you've been successful. And I share that with artists. Like, Konata's not getting these placements by luck. Like, he's knocking these things out. Like, if you're not knocking these things out in a matter of a few days, like, they're not going to want you, right? Which I believe that's why you've been successful, along with the obvious. God has definitely given us favor with it. On my management side, when I watch you work to that capacity, when I have artists or labels tell me they can't do something, it drives me nuts. You can't do it, or you're just not willing to put in the work to do it, right? And my reference is you. Like, my reference, if my husband, who has a family, who's working, who's doing all this stuff, can knock out a song in a matter of 4 days, you can absolutely do this. Yeah. Make this thing happen for my artist. And that, for me, that's my bar. You have set my bar very high when it comes to me dealing with people in business, because especially on the creative side of stuff.
It's funny, like, I remember I used to write, and you used to sometimes tell me, what are you writing for? Like, this is not for a song.
To write all the
And I used
time.
to just continue to write. Fern is very similar. 'Cause he
Yes,
used to wake up
Fern
and
writes
write.
all the time. And
Well,
I used to be like, I'm not wasting a
I'm
verse.
not wasting a verse, right.
Every verse is worth something to
Right.
me.
And the funny thing is, like, I was listening to Black Thought. Black Thought has the most epic freestyle of
Ever.
2017, 18, in the last decade. Where he was on Funk Flex. And they asked him, like, how did you do that? Like, and he said, man, it's just years of, like, writing. I mean, it's nothing. He said, I commit to memory everything that I write. Anything I pen to paper, I commit to memory. And I'm not cut from the same cloth of these new MCs that just go in and they need to be, you know, inspired, and they need to just, he said, I was writing music before I had music. And in the same way, I just think, like, you know, because of the work ethic in anything, like Beyonce, I remember hearing about her dad taking her on runs, having her sing while she was running 2 miles. Her voice got so amazing. Now, if anyone's been to a Beyonce show, you know, it seems like she's tired, but she's still singing like she's lip singing. I mean, she doesn't miss a beat. Why? It's not talent alone. That's work.
She worked at it.
She worked at it. So it's the same thing. Like, I've worked at it so much. To write a verse is nothing, you know. To make it make sense and do the things that you need is a little bit of more thinking. But to write a verse is absolutely nothing at this point. But it's just because of the ethic I've put into it. But the biggest thing is, I told the friend of mine, or the producer, his name is Al. He's been having a great year. Landed 2 things with Rihanna. 21 Savage, all these people, you know, he's just, and the thing I told him is, listen.
Again, we're surrounded by amazing people.
Yeah, so listen, Al, when you, this year I want you to do something you've never done. He said, what's that? I said, I want you to say yes to everything. And I don't mean everything. I mean the things that you know you want to do. Mm-hmm. Don't make an excuse for it. Just try to do it. Try to do, even if you have, someone tells you to make a beat and they need it in 30 minutes.
Do it.
And you are on a bus, try to do it. And I said, in this life, the worst thing you can do is regret. And I said, I have some regrets. I want to stay away from having any more. Mm-hmm. So if someone gives me an opportunity to go to write in this particular sense, to write a placement song, and I only have 2 days to do it, if my life allows me to do it, if I have any free time to do it, I want to give myself the opportunity to say, at least I tried. Because if I don't, then I'm going to regret, man, what if I would have just took that extra, 3 hours I could have been sleeping and just went to the studio and just got a little less sleep that night? What if I did that? What would happen? Where would I be, And that's just it. I mean, I just don't want to regret anything, so I try to do everything, that's
even
put
if it
before
doesn't
me.
result in anything, at least you know you did it.
Exactly. And God puts pressure in our lives for a reason,
Yeah.
and stress. Because a lot of the time, the best version of ourselves come out when we're
Under pressure. Yep.
We get to see what we're really able to do. And I'm sure Garvey would say this with me. There's been songs that we've worked on for a month that turn out okay.
And they're like,
And you do a song you're pressured to do in 2 days, and it's
That's when you
fire,
get your hit, yep.
Because you just dug deep, got the lyrics quick, pressed in, believed in what you wrote the first time, and just went with it. And that pressure is there for a reason. Life isn't about happening on our own terms. A lot of times we get a lot of curveballs, and you got to be able to run with them.
Yeah.
And this stuff shows you what you're worth and what you're able to do. So now, I mean, it's actually empowered me in my talent. Like, I know now that I'm good at a certain type of music and certain type of demand, and it's a good feeling to know that at any point I could, be forced to write a song in a day and I'll be all right. I mean, Tupac wrote a whole album in a week. So
yeah, it's crazy. Watching you do it, I'm always like, yo, it takes me 5 hours to write like 7 bars at this point in my life. I'm not that bad, but I got like 20 songs sitting in a hard drive. Like, hello, you can never put me out. No.
Put it out.
Put it out. You think I should put it out? One of these days. I don't know. My problem is I wait for the right time. I'm still stuck on that stuff. It's got to be the right time. And we're not even in that anymore. Now it's just like, bro, I just wrote this song. I'm just going to put it out. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. I don't care. And I'm going to keep it moving. I need to just put it out. Yep. I think my fear is that it's like really good.
It's what?
I said my fear is like that it's going to be really good. And then what do I do with that? People are like, what's next? Nothing. That's all you got. That's all you get. Go listen to my podcast.
Just write it out. That's it.
But I'm excited, babe. I think it's thank you for joining me.
No problem. This is gonna be our best year yet, baby.
I have really enjoyed being your wife.
Oh yeah?
I have. I've enjoyed you know what I love about
these kids, girl?
Making these kids? Heck yeah.
Out of practice.
What I love about you is that
say it slow.
What I love about you or love about us is that even in our lowest times in our marriage, it was our friendship that sustained us.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that's what I appreciate the most about our relationship is that we have an amazing friendship. And I think, sometimes people look at me like I'm crazy. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, no, like he is my friend, And I think we used to say that too. Like if we ever broke up, like we'd still be cool friends. But I appreciate our friendship. We have some good times together, but I enjoy being your wife. I think I could be better, but I'm growing. We have our whole lives ahead of us.
Yeah, we've got plenty of time to get better.
To get it right. What'd you say? For you to be better, for me to be better. But no, I've enjoyed being your wife. I've enjoyed doing life with you. And I'm excited to see what God continues to do in our life.
It's been awesome. I mean, everything, watching you with your stupid podcast. Sorry, guys, I'm a little technically backwards.
Yes, he is technically challenged.
But the podcast, managing, putting together marketing campaigns for books and way more than that. But just watching everything that, you're doing while raising children and maintaining, the church website and just, you're crazy, you're amazing. And I'm blessed, I mean, literally all the stuff we were just talking about, the licensing and, I couldn't do any of that stuff without you because I don't even know, well, I'm learning now, but at the beginning I didn't know the business side of it. I didn't know how the money split and all this kind of things. And these are all things that you're just well versed on, You can be in a ring with a lawyer and go toe to toe with what a contract says in it. And it's, because I work with a bunch of lawyers, it's meant to confuse the average person the way that it's written. And for you, it's like plain English, and you're able to break it down. So, it's just awesome, like everything about you makes us as a family better.
We make a good team.
We do. But you make me better.
You make me better. Whose song is that? You make me better.
It's a Neo song. What's up, Tassie?
Oh, snap. My god baby's here. With her cute self. Anyways, I love you.
Love you too.
Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think we hit everything on the
matching Wu-Tang shirts.
Matching Wu-Tang shirts. Matching Jordans.
Matching Jordans.
Me and my son have matching Jordans.
You guys do, and you guys are super cute together.
We got a new
Actually,
pair
wait,
now.
do I have... Oh, excuse me. You guys got new sneakers without
the
me?
sneakers he got. The Cements, baby. This is the only ones that, listen.
Do you know I still have not worn... Because you and him have the matching white, blue, and black Jordans. What are they, the sixes or the fours?
Mm-hmm. The motocross ones.
I still haven't worn mine.
That's crazy.
I have like 5 pairs of sneakers, I think, in my closet right now that I haven't worn yet. That's a shame. I should probably stop buying sneakers.
You should. I only have one.
You're part of the problem, though, because you buy them for me as well.
For you to wear them. Like right now, you're doing this show without no sneakers on. Kicking it with skin.
I normally do have sneakers on. But anyways, I love you. Yeah.
too.
Thanks for joining me on my podcast.
All right. Can't wait to
Thank
see
you for
who
supporting
you
me.
interview next. You got to interview one, right? You got to interview the NASA girl.
Who?
NASA, the girl that works for NASA.
Don't be giving away my guests.
What do you mean? People got to know. Coming next.
I will. Anyway, I love you. Thanks for joining me.
It was a pleasure.
Thanks for being my life partner, babe. You're the best. And thank you for supporting me in all my crazy ideas.
Anytime.
Anyways, guys, thanks for joining us. It's Kicking It with Butta, the podcast. My guest, Konata Small, my husband, the rapper, the father, the man. I love you. Thanks for joining me.
Love you too, baby. Bye.
Hey, thanks for kicking it with me today. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. And do me a favor, if you can just rate the show, let people know what you think, that would be awesome. And be sure to follow me online at Kicking It with Butta. I'm looking forward to connecting with you. All right, I'm going to catch you guys later.